everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and yes, what you are seeing in front of you, surprise, is Gloomhaven. That's right, this is a game I've already covered in over 110 plus videos in the past. We went on a massive Kickstarter campaign run through that if you haven't seen, you should definitely check out. I will make sure there's a link inside the video as well as the description below so that you guys can jump into that if this is the first time you've ever seen anything on Gloomhaven from my channel. But yeah, we did a full campaign. We followed the Kickstarter along with Isaac as he released them. It was super exciting. And then on top of that, I went ahead and started a campaign for Gloomhaven and also ran that to a certain point. Now, the reason this is even back on the table again, and it has been on my table with my group of friends, is because I've gotten so many requests asking me what is the best storage solution or quickest, cheapest, most efficient. And to be totally honest, to give you a heads up front, this is not the storage solution to save all players of Gloomhaven. There are going to be better setups than this, I am sure, but I just wanted to show you what I was able to make do with what I have without actually spending that much money, because there are amazing inserts that you can purchase for quite a large sum of money in order to have an even better packaged Gloomhaven when you're done. But what this video is going to aim to do is show you what you can do with maybe about 20 to 30 bucks or so. And some of the and then on top of that, some of the things you can kind of do to push your Gloomhaven campaign to the next level and kind of take a little bit of the legacy aspects out of it and allow you to reset things as you want to. So anyway, let's get into it and we'll start talking about this storage solution, all right? So here we go. So this is my base game of Gloomhaven right here. Off the side, I have another box as well. So before we open this one, I'm going to show you a separate box. I'm also going to show you what's not inside this box currently, because I had to take some things out to make room for things that I find more useful to have in a typical gaming session. So we're going to slide this behemoth off to the side for a second. We're going to bring something else in. All right, so what you're going to see right now is a bunch of tiles. Now that's not all the tiles. These are the large tiles. So these are the tiles which take up the most space, length, like top down, lengthwise, widthwise, all that good stuff. They just basically are the biggest tiles in Gloomhaven in general. So I don't store these ones inside the box, although they do fit. Because I want to have room for other things. You'll see why. I keep them outside the box right now. This is not a great solution. But what I'm doing essentially is keeping these things outside the box because I was able to go to a local craft store and pick up kind of a wooden box solution. So this thing runs about, I don't know, it was about $10, I think. I paid for it maybe a little less than that. It might have been about $7. And it's just a wooden box. Nothing too exciting about it, but it's deep enough. It's probably about 3 inches, 4 inches deep. It goes from up here to about down here. And it does the job. So what I was able to do, and again, remember from my playthrough, if you haven't checked it out, do that. I proxied a lot of Gloomhaven stuff because there's a lot of things that they use tokens for that I'd rather have miniatures for. I also like using gems instead of coins, things like that. So really this box solution is just storing a whole bunch of proxy items. So don't look at this and go, well, this isn't much of a storage solution having a box that's outside your base game. The reason I have this is because I have so many things I like to proxy into the game and bring in ad hoc. So I kind of like grabbing some gold here to use to flip those out with the gold coins, silver for the silver coins. I've got tons of little miniatures here and stuff like that that I also like to swap in and out that you guys saw during the playthroughs. This is something I'll talk about a little later, but I've gone ahead and actually printed these out from Board Game Geek. So they had Board Game Geek, or Isaac I should say, basically released all of the art for the different achievements in the game, as well as the main Gloomhaven map, which I'll show you in a bit later. And what I did was I went ahead and printed all these things out and then went to my local copy and print store and had them printed and then laminated. So they're actually hard as a rock, but they're still thin enough. They bend, but not by much. And essentially this allows me to reset the game. So I can have multiple campaigns running, that kind of thing. So that's cool. So same thing with these. Another example, you've got all kinds of locations. I even have sticky tack. I'll show you how that works in a little bit. So I'll keep those off to the side. But essentially same idea. I printed out all the individual stickers, because typically they come on a sticker sheet. And I printed them out and laminated them individually and cut them out. It took a little bit of time, but really, in the end, it's been worth it because I've probably run about 4 to 5 campaigns to date. With different numbers of people and stuff like that. And I know the game allows you to bring people in and out smoothly, but sometimes people want to start from scratch, and this is a really good way to do so. So anyway, this box, essentially the storage solution, was really just for proxy stuff, but you'll notice if I take all this silly proxy stuff out of the way, and all these little miniatures I purchased, the only things in here that are really from the base game are just this. You got a token bag, of which I don't even use. I actually don't use these ever. Because I find that I can actually track these without using these summon tokens at all. And then these are just the actual major bosses within Gloomhaven, so you only need them when you need them, so they very much can stay in this box until you happen to hit that particular scenario. And of course, the major box is just containing, or this wooden box going to contain every single Gloomhaven tile. Now what I'm trying to find is a storage solution that's just like this, but just a little wider. I think I need about 2 inches more on either side, and I could get all of these tiles to sit inside of it perfectly. You can see I'm just shy of the longest width tile there, so that's what's keeping me from keeping those in. But just in terms of your own imagination, just pretend that I've already purchased a magical box that can actually keep that inside. That's what I'm going for. And really, I paid $7 for it. So once you get that stuff outside of the major Gloomhaven base box, you now have some room, because once you get rid of those tiles out of the box, you gain back a lot of room. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So now we're going to talk about the actual base box. This is where things get exciting, because this is going to show you kind of how, when I come to the table and I'm playing with a bunch of people, how I'm actually doing this. And it could be solo as well, just how quick I'm able to get this out. So I'm not going to be showing you how to set it up in this video, but I'll show you what it looks like inside the box. So let me see if I can reach around here and get this thing open. It is extremely massive, as we all know. So very first things you're seeing here, this is kind of how I lay it out. So again, because I don't have tiles in here, everything can lay very flat and very, very neat and organized. And I can keep this on the shelf and I can lay it flat and it doesn't tumble everywhere. So let's go through these things one at a time. So over here on the left, I just have a little section worth of those little, well, I like to call them floppy, they're almost like floppy disk covers essentially, but I keep them here. You'll also notice there's some blank space here, especially right here. I have nothing here. There's probably, I'd say, 1.5 centimeters of depth that I'm not using there. Someday in the future, I may use it for something else. These right here are the straight from Board Game Geeks. These are not part of the base game. So again, I have extra material I was able to fit into the base game, but this is just a printout of a quick reference for the rules that I like to have handy instead of having the major rulebook next to me. These are the stickers. Again, I don't use, or sorry, these are not the stickers. I've taken, just so you guys are aware of this as well, I've taken the stickers, all the sticker sheets out of Gloomhaven and stored them elsewhere in a file folder. I just am that type of person. I don't use them. Because I went ahead and I laminated things, as you can see, when I get to it, I just simply go to the area that essentially we are unlocked and I cut it out. I just cut it with some scissors and bam, it's unlocked. I probably should go through this and just cut these out. I've only got this many to do and just this right here. And then I've got all of them and I can dump them into this plastic bag and then I'm good forever. I've just been a little lazy there and haven't done it. But I can still have the room in here to store them. So anyway, they're laminated and they're sitting there for use. Next up is the rulebook, of course. So the rulebook, and of course, I believe, if I've switched this out, I just recently actually received the most recent Gloomhaven updated rulebook. So let me just go grab that. Okay, never mind. It's not close to me. I'm going to skip that. Okay, so anyway, I did receive the newest updated Gloomhaven rulebook along with the scenario book, along with some cards and all that good stuff. I thought it was close to me, but it's not. It's okay. Doesn't matter for the storage thing. So anyway, rulebook's here. Then underneath you got the scenario book. And then what you're going to see is what most people are familiar with if you haven't gotten an insert with the game, but it's a little different. I've got myself like a Plano box in here with a bunch of different dividers. This is my solution. This is the biggest key factor to getting Gloomhaven to the table in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle ever. So you pick up one of these things, and in my opinion, you do not need an insert. You don't need to have one of these really expensive inserts that you spend $50, $60, $70, $80, $90 plus on. Yes, you can build some things that are really creative at a foam core. So if you are in that capacity and you can do that, you're creative like that, go for it because it will be better than this. But this is a great solution because, as you can see, this Plano box can fit right inside. It's relatively thick, and again, because those tiles are no longer taking up all that space, and of course how terribly they're angled, tiles are never perfectly square, so they kind of sit in an awkward position and take up too much area. You now have a full you almost have a quarter of the Gloomhaven box to put whatever you want on top of it and still have room with about 2 inches, or not 2 inches, but 2 centimeters above the plano box for rule books and whatnot. So what I've got here is just, again, it's a simple solution to just unsnap this. You flip this up, and right now I have every single monster and token and all the things all categorized in different areas. You'll notice up here in the top, like, all I've done essentially is I've just taken and grouped them. So I've got, like, you know, some golems here, and then I've got some other individuals right beside it. You know, some are laying side, like, to the left, some of them are laying straight up. Boom, done. Doesn't need to be super complex in order to be organized. So again, some of these have 3 monsters in one section, but quickly, if you happen to, if you're setting up a mission and you're like, oh, I need to have, you know, a particular enemy. What am I looking for? Oh, I'm looking for a wisp or something. Well, there it is right there. So it's like, I can see from top-down view right now every single area of this box. There's nothing I'm going to miss. So anyway, this is how I've gone ahead and it saved myself in terms of setup time to be able to just drop this on the table anywhere I am. This is incredible, because typically people bag that stuff up and you'll have like 20 bags sitting in your Gloomhaven box. You're throwing them all over the table. You're unpackaging them. It's just a nightmare. So do yourself a favor, pick up a plano box, find them on sale. I got this one, I think I got this one for maybe 15 bucks or something like that. So I got that wooden box for about 7. I got this plano box for about 15. It might have been 12 actually, because I think I got it on sale. So you're talking under $20, like 20 bucks basically, and you've got a solution. And what you're going to see going down the row here is that I haven't had to change anything about the base games insert. I can use the base games in their insert and continue on. I don't need a special one. I even have room on the side here because of those tiles being gone for extra sleeves. If you happen to be one of those people who want to have sleeves handy, I don't sleeve everything in Gloomhaven. I sleeve it as I get it. So once I acquire an item, I'll sleeve it. Once I acquire, you know, something new, I'll put a sleeve on it. But I'm not going to sleeve every single item. I just do it because as our friends are playing through a game, of course, if there's a spell that happens, sleeves are nice to have to protect your stuff. So there you go. Got a space for your sleeves. All right, so next up are these 3 little containers. Again, you want quick access when you're playing to the most common and most heavily used tokens that you have. So I have these 3 boxes. They're super simple. These ones actually I didn't have to purchase. I had them forever. I think most people that are into board games or into any type of craft whatsoever have something along these lines, like a little small box. These ones just happen to fit perfectly, 3 of them in a row across the back here. But it doesn't matter. They could be very small, little square containers. Same result, but essentially all I'm doing is I've got one here for status symbols. It also has a mixture of experience tokens. If we ever need an experience, so we can just put this on the table. Bam, I'm ready to go. Same thing, I open this one up. On the left side, I've got the summons tokens, which I mentioned before I don't really use, and then a whole bunch of the health tokens ready to go. And then over here, we've got the gold and the silver. And as I mentioned, half the time I don't use these because I'll proxy them with the gems, as I was talking about earlier. These guys right here, because I just prefer the look of them and makes it a little bit more attractive to go after on the map. But that's pretty much it. And you can see with 1, 2, 3, and of course not needing necessarily the coins, you really only have 2 that you need to put out, open up, take the plano box, open up, boom, all your tokens are on the table ready to go. Then the next step is you've got your typical layout for a Gloomhaven box. You've got your, I even was able to keep all of the styrofoamish, you know, stuff like that inside of it. So I've got all the boxes here. I simply just remove them and I'm ready to go. Now this is where things get interesting, because you're probably wondering, how do you keep all this stuff organized? It's really not that hard, and I don't know if anyone else has mentioned this anywhere, but I just did this from day one and it worked. Essentially, I just put all the things that are locked in Gloomhaven that I'm not supposed to know about, as well as the town records. I just lay them simply right over top of all the unlockable characters here. Over here in the top right-hand corner, you've got your solo. So this is going to be following the typical insert layout. This is just, you know, again, you want to build a dungeon randomly, that type of thing. It's sitting up here. What I've got going on here, I guess what I'll do to make things easier for you guys is I'm going to flip this around, because then you can see from a better angle, kind of deeper into the box. But essentially what I've got going on is I've got road and city. I simply lay them side by side, even sleeved, just next to each other on top of the insert's smaller cards. So I got those ready to go. When I'm ready to set up a game, boom, those 2 things go on the table and I'm good to go. Underneath of them, everything else can stay in the box, really. I mean, besides things like the ability, there's certain things you're going to need to take out. So I shouldn't say everything should stay in here. But what you're going to see essentially is everything is in the exact same spot that you would see in the typical game. So you're not going to see anything in this storage solution that's going to wow you. I think the one thing that you guys might think is cool is this. And this is what I did, and I did this from day one, and it saved me so much time. I've seen so many people talk about how do you... I've seen people Ziploc bag these individually, so they'll take, each enemy, then they'll take the cards that are associated to them, Ziploc them, put them somewhere. It just becomes a mess. If you'll notice down here, and I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see it, in this area here, all of my cards are actually embedded in between every single divider across the whole row. So basically, if we need to go after, say, the living bones, the cards are always, and I do it from far right over to the left. So living bones has their cards in front of them. And then if you're like, okay, well, I need to pull out the deep terror, you grab this card, or what I do first always, because if you pull the card out, then two sets of cards. If I pull this reference out, these two sets of cards on either side are going to combine, becomes a mess. So if you're grabbing a deep terror, you just simply go by the divider, you go in front, you reach down, you pull out the cards, put them aside, grab the divider, pull it out, bam, you're ready to go. There's no need to have Ziploc bags. Everything fits in the insert. This is using the insert. There's still some space. There's only a handful of them that couldn't go in like that. And so for those guys, I'll show you this. Just down the side, right down here, there's enough space to lay all the bosses that don't fit in here. Like, in other words, the ones that are not common to Gloomhaven, that you're not going to pull out that often. So you got things like the Bandit Commander. So again, these are all bosses. Everything that's black is bosses. I'm not going to spoil everything. But then there's a handful of guys that I couldn't actually get down there. So there's some, city archers and some stuff like that. So a few of them actually don't make it in, but the majority of them do. So again, I think this works perfect. I've never had a problem whenever we've been setting up a game being able to reference things in there. Of course, the game insert itself has a room for all of your modifier decks across all four of the characters. So all four characters are all sleeved. These are like the actual modification dice, or modification cards, I should say. They all sit in there, no problem. And then all I simply do is when I'm playing through a campaign, I am sleeving cards that I'm actually using, and then I am actually not sleeving the cards that I'm not, if that makes sense. So essentially I can just look and go, these are the cards that I'm using currently, these are the cards I'm using, these ones I'm using, these ones I'm not. This is part of the shop area, for instance, in the item store. I'm not using these because these are the random scenarios that I could potentially unlock. Some of these other cards I'm not using, but everything's in their place. All the road events are here. Of course, if you have all your city cards sleeved already, when you get a card that says you should, get rid of it and never use it again in your campaign, I already have it sleeved, whereas the rest of the other ones aren't. And so I know if I put it in here with the other ones, I know that was one that's never going to come back. I'm never going to use it during that current campaign, because normally when I store my city cards that are in use, they're sitting right here. So everything's got its place, no worries whatsoever. And then of course all the characters are here. So you really can actually use the base insert, and it can be very effective. So I hope this helps. This isn't like a complete, again, it's not a perfect solution. There are better solutions. I've seen people toss this insert and create something absolutely incredible. There's a lot of great stuff out there. I just wanted to show you the way that I made it work for me. And I think at the end of the day, the Plano boxes and these individual containers with the tokens, as well as a combination with these monster ability cards and their cards, were the biggest time savers across the board easily. The tokens by far are the worst to store, and knowing how to actually store these are also a nightmare. And I'm telling you right now, put them in a row right here, put the cards in front of them. It makes life easy. Don't Ziploc bag those things and just toss them in your box. It becomes a nightmare. Use the insert to your advantage and just be creative. You'll be able to come up with your own solutions as you go. So this is mine. I'd like to hear yours. So if you actually have a really good suggestion on, or maybe you've seen what I've done and you're thinking that there's something that I could do better, or maybe potentially you just like to talk about what you did in order to save some money, because not all of us want to or necessarily can afford to pick up a huge insert for something like a game like Gloomhaven. The insert almost becomes as expensive as the game itself, which to me doesn't really work. I can't really, I have a hard time putting my money against something that's as expensive as the game itself. It kind of throws me for a loop. So I try in those situations to be a little creative and come up with something that's going to work for myself. So I want to hear your comments and suggestions. Let me know in the comments below. Also give this video a like if you enjoyed it and it was helpful. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again for watching, and keep on rolling solo.